to get together for 2 women artists who had gotten to know recently, and we sat down about, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I felt like I was talking to 2 women that know each other very well, 2 women who approach art, life, and stuff personally that really are very similar but different decades apart.
Yes.
So it was a wonderful conversation. I don't want to say too much because they have great stories to tell and they need to be the ones telling them. So they will both take time to speak this evening. So we will start with Shonet Martin and then move to Alan Wagner. So go ahead, Shonet. Do you want to go first?
The body of work I have done here is different than what I've done in the past. It's a combination of watercolor, which I had never done before, and then the tissue paper and the pen and ink that I've done in previous work. The inspiration for the work is time that I spent with my mother. And she was in a nursing home towards the end, and we did have a bird feeder outside her window. And a lot of the time that I was there, we spent watching the sparrows, watching the birds, identifying the birds, and it brought her a great deal of joy. After she passed, I realized what an incredibly special time that was to spend with her. And I had been kind of playing around with the bird image for a while, but then it all kind of fell into place as I remembered the times I spent with her watching the birds. So that's kind of the inspiration for the work. Some of the pieces are all watercolor, and then some of them are the torn paper that I've done in the past. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, it's your turn.
I think Shonet, her work is so beautiful and our things are tied together, even though visually they are very different, just the story of our work together. And forgive me, I'm nervous, so I have notes. I don't want to forget anything. And I was doing, like, these are my little pieces here too, and when Barbara and I first started talking about a show, I was doing you know, little landscapes, nature-inspired things, floral, like abstracts, and so I told Barbara, I'm like, that's what I'll bring to the show, is this, you know, similar, and she was very excited, and then I tried to keep painting like this, and it didn't work. I was like super stuck, and I hated everything, and so then, in 2019, I did like a kitchen series where I tried to paint 100 things from my kitchen. And in that series, one of the last things I painted was a spoon, and I loved it. Like I loved everything about it. And so then I did like a little series of just spoons. That was 2020. And then I thought I was done. So I thought I moved on to different things, and I thought the spoons were over, they're done. And then when I was stuck working on this show, I was doing like an active procrastination where you are putting off something. And I went back in my sketchbook and I painted a spoon, and it just kind of felt like an exhale, like, oh, I love painting these. And so the show is just, I love painting these. And the reason, so I thought deeper about, at first it's like the symmetry and the reflections are like little mirrors almost, little spoons. But then I thought deeper, like, well, why do I love these? And it's just, my full-time job as a mom. I've been like a stay-at-home mom artist for 17 years. So everything revolves around mothering and caretaking and feeding people over and over and over. And so that's what these are about, is, you know, my family and caring for them. And the triangles are just kind of part of my, it's like a visual thing that keeps popping up. I love to paint those too, so I pulled that in, and those are some older pieces that kind of complement that, but they're all painted from life. I collected spoons, and I would, when I found one I liked, I would prop it up and on my little board and just set it in front of me and paint. So they're all painted, you know, from the real spoon. So, does anybody have any questions?
Abby, do you turn on different lights like colored lights or put them in different lighting situations?
No, it just depends of like where I would paint them. I painted some at home at the kitchen table, some at my studio, and so it just depends what color shirt I had on or what. And I would exaggerate too, like, you know, it wasn't that orange, but I liked it, so kind of enhanced that.
How many spoons do you have?
I have several, because once I started painting them, people, like my mom found several for me, and you can find a spoon for $1, you know, at an antique mall, really neat one, so, yeah.
How come you only have one soup spoon?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, one right there.
Yeah,
It's a soup spoon.
Yeah.
The rest of them are teaspoons.
I don't know, I think I only have like a couple of the soup ones, mostly teaspoons.
Well, we fell in love with you with your spoons, because I think that one of the first things you came in and we framed for you after we bought the business was your cup and spoons.
Yes.
And we just were like, I was fascinated. I was so excited about the spoons. So when you came back with spoons again, I'm like,
I know, and I didn't tell Barbara when I changed my mind. She thought all this time I was bringing nature things. I didn't tell her till we met 3 weeks ago that that's not what I was doing. So I was glad that she went with it. And it ended up just like the story with Shonet.
it's about nurturing. That's why we call it the art of nurturing. And the whole concepts of things that remind us of nurturing. And it was funny because my mother, who's in her 80s, was visiting me, like right when we were talking, and I was in the kitchen with her, and I took out a wooden spoon that I always used to stir things, and I got it passed down through the family, and she picked up the spoon, and she goes, these spoons are so interesting, because you see burn marks, and it's, you know, it's like, these spoons tell stories. Wish they could talk, and just the whole concept of how we all handle a spoon, and how many of our families have handled the same spoon. It's such an intimate story. I just thought it was lovely. So anyway, it's great. It's great to get to know them. Make sure you read the front label and the connections. And just so you all know, Friday morning pop culture on IPR. IPR does pop culture, which is sort of arts in the area, and I'll be one of their interviewers, and I talk about the exhibit. So both artists are here. If you guys have questions and want to have conversations with them, they're here to do that. Yes, go Linda.
Shonet, I'm interested in the kind of paper you used, especially for those two.
For this one,
The one above it.
these are both papers that I get from Karen Fisher at Artmark. This paper, I love this paper. Well, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love that it already has the grid on it. We were talking about that. We both love grids. But it is a tissue paper that they've laid strings in, and then they've waxed both sides of it. So it's difficult to work with because if you press too hard, it pokes a hole in it. And then this is handmade paper that I get from Karen also.
So is the grid, do you feel texture on it?
You
with the
do.
strings?
Yeah, you can feel a texture on it, and there you can, as you're working with it, you can tell almost if a piece is going to poke through or not, whether I can really do the dots on it or not. I have to use a very lighter touch when I work on that paper.
It's all just really nice.
Thank you. Thank you very
I
much.
love the spoons.
Does anyone else have any questions? Yes.
This is more of an addition, and like I said, I'm happy son, and I have to give them probably every single one of those.
And he has favorites,
Do you
yeah.
have a favorite? Somebody your favorite spoon up here. So you can testify that they're real spoons in your house.
I don't know if it's called, but like the second one on the right from the left side is my favorite spoon.
Okay. We should name it. We should change the name on it. Abby's son's favorite spoon.